Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of EL Mastery. My name is Ramneek and today I will be talking to you about the PTE Academic Examination. And when I say that, this is actually a crash course, I'd say, for someone who's watching this video one night before their PTE examination, or maybe someone who's never given it before and just wants a brief overview about what kinds of questions can you anticipate in the examination. And that's exactly what I'll do here. I'll try to keep it short, concise, to the point, making sure that I address each and every bit of every task. I won't be giving you tips or strategies in this one, but I will be telling you what you can expect in the examination. For tips and strategies, obviously you can watch our other videos. So without much ado, let's get started. So as you would be expecting from any English language examination, there are 4 modules in this as well. There's speaking, writing, reading and listening. So let's start with speaking first, as you would expect on the day of the examination. So the very first exercise is read aloud. As you can see, it says right here, there's 6 to 7 questions. And when I say questions in read aloud, what I mean is there's 6 to 7 paragraphs. And before every paragraph, you get about 35 to 40 seconds. And you have 35 to 40 seconds when you look at the paragraph to look at all the difficult big words that you might need more practice, or like you might need to read in your head before you actually read the paragraph, because there could be big words or words that you haven't really read before or heard of before. And that's how you usually use that time of 35 to 40 seconds. Another thing you need to know is that in this exercise, what they're trying to see is your speaking as well as your reading skills. So even though it's called a read aloud, it's majorly your speaking skills, but also your reading skills at the same time. And how do they see that? How do they know if you have good speaking and reading skills? They want to see the content that you're reading, if it's relevant to what's been given in the paragraph, if you're not adding any words of your own or missing out on any of the information. They want to see your pronunciation. Obviously, how good are you at pronouncing those words? Your accent does not matter at all. You can have an American, British, Australian, Indian, German, African, any accent. There are like thousands of accents all over the world, so it could be any one. Well, not thousands, maybe hundreds, but yours could be any one, and that doesn't matter as long as your pronunciation is on point. And lastly, the fluency. So the fluency is basically your tonality, and also that you don't take many uneven pauses or go like or any of those things. You really should be avoiding those when you're reading these paragraphs, which is why they give you 35 to 40 seconds to prepare. So that was your read aloud. Next comes the repeat sentence exercise. As you can see, you get about 10 to 12 of these questions. What this means is you get 10 or 12 recordings. Now, each recording is anywhere between, I'd say, 3 seconds to maybe 10 seconds long. If you're really unlucky, it could be a bit longer, but there is no specific guideline as to how long a recording can be. But it's usually one sentence. You listen to it, whatever you listen to, you just vomit it back out. And again, you get 10 to 12 of these questions. And in this, there's no reading that's being analyzed. It's speaking and listening as you'd expect. So you first close your eyes, you listen to the sentence that's being spoken, and when it's your turn, you just vomit out whatever you've heard. So they obviously want to see the content, that you're not, again, missing out on any of the words or adding any words of your own. Your pronunciation, again, like we spoke about that in the last exercise. And again, your fluency, like how good is the tone, or I mean, like you're not taking pauses the way I just did a couple of seconds ago. That's what they want to see in your fluency. So that's another exercise. Repeat the sentence. Then comes describe image. Now, for someone who's never done this exercise before, I highly recommend doing a couple of examples of these at least before the examination, because this is one of the harder exercises, and even native English speakers, they struggle with this exercise. Reason being, what happens is, you get 6 or 7 of these exercises, 6 or 7 images or diagrams, and recently there's been an upsurge in the trend of a lot of graphs or pie charts coming in the examination. So which is why you can see in the image that I've shared, you don't really need to read the question very carefully, but if you look, it's a graph again, and it's a bar chart rather, and a bar graph rather. And if you look at it, you get 25 seconds to look at the image and come up with your speech, and then you're supposed to speak for 40 seconds straight. There are 6 to 7 of these exercises. And again, they want to see your speaking skills only. There's not a lot of reading or any of writing or listening in this. And again, content, pronunciation, fluency, these 3 things. And trust me, this exercise does take a lot of practice. It looks really easy, but you need to catch hold of the right way, the right structure with which you will keep up your speech on the day of the examination. So it's always a good idea to do a few of these almost every day for a month before the examination, and you'll be fine. Again, that again varies, but yeah, if you feel like you could use some practice, yeah, that's what I normally recommend, 1 or 2 a day for a month before the examination. On to the next one now, RETELL lecture. What happens in this exercise is that you will be listening to a recording that can be anywhere between 30 seconds and 2 minutes long. It's usually a college lecture or maybe a seminar or a TED talk or anything of that sort. And the speaker is obviously talking about something. In this image, like we can see, there's a rocket that's being launched into space. So there will be an image on the day of the examination, and next to it will be a recorder. So when the speech is being played, or when you're listening to the recording, there will be an image giving you a reference about, what the recording is. So that, like, even if you miss out on some bits of the recording of the speech that's being spoken or the lecture, you're still able to get some information from the image or get an idea. So from this image, since we can see a rocket that's being launched, we can assume that the speech or the lecture is basically something about NASA or a space project or maybe SpaceX or anything of that sort. So that gives us a brief overview about what we can expect from the rest of the recording and allows us to make notes and speak accordingly. And again, speaking and listening skills assist. You're listening first. Then you have 10 seconds after the recording has stopped. You have 10 seconds to prepare your speech. And then you speak for about 40 seconds. Just like describe the image, in this as well, you speak for 40 seconds. And of course, in this again, content, pronunciation, and fluency. These 3 things are the things that are analyzed. And then the last speaking exercise, that is answer short questions. And when I say last speaking exercise, I don't really mean that there's no more speaking, but what I mean is that this is the last exercise that is in the first section of the examination, that is speaking. Remember, in the PTE examination, it's very common for one exercise to assess more than one module. For example, the exercise that we just did before RETELL lecture, it's speaking and listening. So keep that in mind. But anyway, answer short questions, which is the final speaking section exercise. Well, this exercise is basically a general knowledge kind of thing. That's what I feel, because they ask you 10 to 12 questions. Each question is about 5 seconds long, and it's pretty basic and straightforward. Like, what would you call a doctor who treats your teeth? Or what do you call a doctor who treats your heart? So you could say a cardiologist, you could say a heart doctor, you could say a heart surgeon. That's completely fine, as long as you are using the good vocabulary or correct vocabulary. So keep that in mind. Your answer does not have to be pinpoint, because it's a general knowledge kind of a thing. And PTE is not a GK examination, it's an English examination. So as long as you don't fumble and give, if the question is, what do you call a heart doctor? As long as you don't say something like an engineer or a soldier, you won't lose marks if you keep it relevant. Maybe call that person a heart surgeon, if not a cardiologist, if you can't think of that word. So that's pretty much how this exercise works. You need a bit of practice in this as well. Have a good vague idea about GK, general knowledge. That's obviously a bonus. But yeah, they want to see you speaking and you're listening in this. Listening, obviously they want to know if you heard the question right. And speaking, because they want to be sure that, the answer that you're speaking, your pronunciation is on point and you're using the right vocabulary. Again, the answer to these questions is not more than 2 or 3 words. Usually it's 1 word, but could be 2 or 3. And 10 to 12 questions. So that was a speaking section, and after the speaking section in the examination comes a writing section where you have 2 tasks. Those are summarize the written text and writing an essay. And one thing you need to keep in mind is that you have a total of 72 to 93 minutes, which means it varies from one exam to another, but it's usually between 70 to 90 minutes. The speaking and the writing essay, they both have a combined time limit of 70 to 90 minutes, in that range, depending on the number of questions, of course, and the quality of the questions. So, starting with the writing section now, the first exercise is summarize the written text. If you've done this exercise before, you probably know what to expect. And this again is one of the more daunting tasks in the examination, along with describe the image. The reason it is challenging is because you usually are presented with a passage in front of you that could be about 200 to 300 words big. And it could be a bit less or a bit more, but usually it's in that word limit. And what they expect you to do is condense the information of that passage into one tiny sentence. Well, not exactly tiny, but 5 to 75 words long. That's the word limit that they expect out of you. And they want to see how good are you at condensing that passage into one sentence, and at the same time maintain the information that's been given without adding any information of your own. And most importantly, use only one full stop, and that full stop should be at the end of the sentence. No more full stops. You put another full stop in the middle, that's it. You get a 0 straight away, no questions asked. So I know this exercise does sound challenging, but you need practice for this. And with the right practice, you can easily do it. With the right practice and strategies, do check out some of our videos where we've actually talked about this exercise and even shown how to do by doing a few of the repeated examination questions. And 2 to 3 questions, that's how many you can expect of these. So you're normally given 10 minutes for this exercise. Like I said, you have the passage in front of you, 10 minutes to read it, take notes if you may, and then come up with your sentence. And they obviously want to see your reading and writing skills in this. Your reading, because obviously you need to read first and make sure you're grabbing information, and then writing skills are assessed with the sentence that you come up with. And what they want to see, they want to see your sentence formation, content, vocabulary, and grammar. So it goes without saying that, you know, when you're doing a writing exercise, these 4 are the mainstay of any writing exercise. That's especially form, vocabulary, and grammar. Content is used in a lot of other exercises as well, but at least these 3 are the mainstay of any writing exercise. After having completed summarize the written text comes the next exercise, that's write an essay. So what do you expect in this exercise? So it's pretty straightforward. Write an essay. You usually have a topic in front of you, and the most common, there are 2 kinds of questions that you can expect. One would be asking you for your opinion on something. For example, social distancing. What's your opinion on social distancing? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea? That's just one example. And another type of question you could expect is probably, you know, pros and cons, or maybe comparing 2 things, comparing private vehicles with public transport, or comparing the advantages of private vehicles over its disadvantages. And these are the kind of questions you can expect in writing an essay exercise. And again, the recommended word, the required word limit rather, is 200 to 300 words. Do not write 199 words. Do not write 301 words. You'll lose marks. And you normally get just 1 essay, but it is possible for you to get 2 essays. In that case, you'll get fewer summarized written text exercises, but it has happened that you get more than 1 essay. So that is likely, not very likely, but that is possible. And in this, obviously, they're only seeing your writing skills. There's no reading, listening, or speaking involved. And in this, they're checking quite a few things, actually. That's sentence formation, your content, vocabulary, spellings, of course, your structure and coherence. Like, so that one sentence makes, the sentence that you've written, let's say at the top, makes sense with the next sentence and the sentence after that. So in a way, it's a story, and you haven't just written, like, 2 random sentences, joined them together haphazardly. No, that's not how it should be. So there needs to be the coherence or the storytelling mode. And then there's general linguistic range as well. So what the general linguistic range or general linguistic response means is they want to see in the examination that the language that you're using for the essay is in line with the ideas that you have in mind. And in a way, they want to see that you're able to express your thoughts into words and it makes complete sense. That's pretty much all they want to see. I know it's a big long word. A lot of people haven't heard of this before, general linguistic range, but it's pretty straightforward and simple. And in every essay that you've ever written, if you have in your life before this, you probably have exhibited linguistic range. So with that, we've completed our writing section as well. So as I said earlier, the speaking and the writing section, they both have a total of 72 to 93 minutes of word limit. It usually ranges depending on the examination. The next section now is reading. And as you'd expect from reading, there are quite a few exercises wherein you obviously have to read a passage and then choose the correct answer. One of those is multiple choice single answer questions. Now, in this question, you normally get 2 to 3 such questions, and it's not like any English examination that I've given before that, you have one big, huge passage, you read it, and then you have maybe 4 or 5 questions from that same passage. No, in the PTE, there are different paragraphs, and every paragraph has one question of its own. There could be totally unrelated paragraphs. They usually are unrelated paragraphs. They're not taken from the same passage. So you could expect 2 or 3 of those. They obviously want to see your reading skills only in this. And yeah, like I said, in the reading section, you have 2 to 3 questions of this kind. That's multiple choice single answer. And well, it goes without saying that only choose one answer in this because it's a single answer question. A lot of students make this common mistake of maybe choosing multiple answers and then later paying attention to the heading of the question that no, they ask for a single answer only. So keep that in mind. Then comes the multiple choice, multiple answer question. Again, this is pretty common to the exercise that we just discussed before, except that in this you can actually expect a much longer passage for the fact that there are more than 1 correct answers. So it's usually 2 or more. And again, you get 2 or 3 such questions. They want to see your reading skills. And one thing that you want to keep in mind, one thing that's different from the single answer question exercise, is that this exercise has negative marking. And if you haven't seen my video on negative marking before, you probably should give that a look after this video. I will be attaching that in the description below. That will give you an idea about how to avoid negative marks in such exercises and how they can actually affect your grade overall, and also keep you from, actually contribute to wasting time in the examination, which you should be avoiding, because in the reading section you manage your own time. Then the next exercise in the reading module is reorder the paragraphs. So as you'd see, you could expect 2 to 3 questions in reorder the paragraph exercise. Again, they only assess your reading skills, nothing else. And the third and most important tip is watch our video on how the reorder the paragraph exercise should be done so that you don't waste a lot of time. A lot of students have the habit of spending minutes, maybe 4 or 5 minutes on just one simple exercise, and maybe even get it wrong at the end. But this exercise shouldn't take you more than 90 seconds. If you feel like you're spending more than 90 seconds on this exercise, just leave it and jump on to the next one. You don't want to waste time on this and then have no time for filling the blanks, which are comparatively easier, I'd say, for a lot of students. Excuse me. Then come the fill in the blanks reading. In this, as it says, only reading skills are assessed, and a total of 4 to 5 questions or 4 to 5 paragraphs are given, and each paragraph has about 5 blanks. So as you can see from the image, there are 5 blanks and 8 options. Obviously, only 5 are correct and 3 are not. One option cannot be used twice, and it's pretty straightforward there and then. The next is fill in the blanks reading and writing. Now this is a bit different. In this, what happens is you again get 5 to 6 questions this time. And for each blank, there is actually a drop-down menu. So, excuse me. If you click on each blank, like you can see in the image, there will be 4 options. And as you'd expect, only one of those options will be correct or suited for this answer. And in this, they actually access your reading as well as writing skills. So that sums up our reading section. And keep in mind that you get about 45 minutes for the reading section. In fact, less. You get about 35 to 45 minutes for the reading section because there are not many questions. But the thing in reading is that you have to manage your own time. There's no specified time limit for one single exercise, after which the page will change automatically. No, that's not how this works. So you will have to manage your own time. Keep in mind when you do that, don't waste a lot of time on one exercise. And now, without much ado, moving on to the very final exercise, that is the very final module rather, that is listening. And as you'd expect, listening is actually the longest or has the most number of exercises in the examination. So, well, what you can expect from a listening section is the first exercise, summarize spoken text. You normally get 2 or 3 of these recordings in the examination, and what happens is you will listen to a recording that will be played, and 2 or 3 recordings, one at a time. The recording could again be anywhere between 30 seconds to 2 minutes long. You need to take down notes when the recording is being played. And then you have 10 minutes after that, a whole 10 minutes, to come up with a summary of what you've heard. And that summary could be anywhere between 50 and 70 words. Again, do not write 49 words, do not write 71 words. Easiest way to lose marks. Avoid that, please. And they want to see your listening and writing skills in this. And the good thing about this is how this is different from summarize the written text is that in this you can use multiple sentences, which means you can use as many full stops as you like. Normally it takes about 4 to 5 sentences to accomplish 50 to 70 words, but you're flexible with that, and that totally depends on what your writing style is. What they want to see is the content that is relevant to the recording you've heard. You're not adding a lot of information of your own, and obviously sentence formation, vocabulary, grammar, and spellings, just like you'd expect from any writing exercise. And yes, this does denote marks to the writing section as well. Next, multiple choice single answer questions. Very straightforward, 2 to 3 questions. The only way this is different from the reading section is that herein you listen to a recording, and as the recording is being played, like you can see on the screen right next to me, there will be 4 or 5 options that you have to choose the correct answer from. And as the recording stops, you'll have a few seconds and only one is the correct answer. And of course, multiple choice questions with multiple answers. Again, pretty straightforward, 2 to 3 exercises, listening skills assessed. There will be a recording played with about 4 to 5 options at least this time on the bottom, and you have to choose 2 or more correct answers. Again, be very careful about the answers you choose. There is negative marking in this exercise. So there is obviously a way by which you should be attempting this. So always have a strategy in mind. Some people like listening to the recording and then opening their eyes and just reading the options quickly. Whereas for some others, as they listen to the recording, they just look at the options and choose the correct answer. It varies and it's different for everyone. They all work. There's no right or wrong strategy in this. The only wrong strategy is wasting a lot of time. Highlight correct summary. Well, again, this is pretty much like an exaggerated version of an MCQ, I'd say, because in this what happens is a recording is being played and then you have multiple options in front of you. And again, one of the options is correct. And all these 4 options are actually summaries. And only one of these 4 summaries is actually in line with what you're hearing or the lecture or the recording that you're hearing. Again, 2 to 3 questions at most, and listening and reading skills assist in this one. And you don't really have to highlight the correct summary. You just have to select the correct option like an MCQ, like you can see on the screen. So no, you don't have to highlight the whole thing. Then comes in select the missing word. So this is like a fill in the blanks exercise, except that the blank is always at the end. So what happens is you listen to a recording, and as the recording is being played, the last couple of seconds of the recording will be replaced by a beep. And from what you've heard in the recording up until that beep, you need to pick up one of the options at the bottom. That could be the missing word, or rather that should be the missing word. And it's usually, it could be 2 to 3 words. It's not always just one word, but it's rarely or seldom more than 3 words. And again, 2 to 3 questions at most. And this exercise only focuses on your listening skills. Fill in the blanks again. All right, so 2 to 3 questions, and by questions I mean 2 to 3 recordings, not just 2 to 3 blanks. What happens here is the recording is being played, and then at the same time you're reading the paragraph in front of you. And you need a good typing speed for this exercise, because as the recording is being played and you're reading the paragraph, some words which are not written in the paragraph are actually being spoken at the same time. So you quickly need to type down what you hear. Now you will have a few seconds after the recording has stopped before you go on to the next one to correct if any spelling mistakes, if you've made any. But some students are more comfortable taking down notes and then quickly writing them back in the blanks, whereas some of them have a fast typing speed and they quickly like to type them down and come up with the correct answers for these exercises. So whatever you're comfortable with, if you have the right amount of practice, you should be fine with this one. Highlight incorrect word. So this exercise is pretty straightforward. You listen to a recording and at the same time you read a paragraph that's in front of you. Now, some of the words in the recordings are different from what's in the paragraph, and a lot of students have this habit of ignoring this exercise till the day of the examination because of how easy it sounds or it looks. But trust me, it's not that easy. There obviously are strategies to avoid losing marks in this exercise, but what you need to do is make sure that your mouse is scrolling across the passage or along the paragraph as you're listening to the recording. And even though it says highlight incorrect word, you don't really need to highlight the word. You just need to tap on the word as it's being mispronounced. So for example, the word is, in the recording, one of the words is official. So his official mission, instead of his official, if the word would be his birthday mission. I don't know why I said birthday, but his birthday mission. So birthday is the incorrect word. So I'll just tap on that word and it will be highlighted on its own, and then I'll go along and choose the next word or look for the next word. If I accidentally highlighted a word, that's fine. I can tap on it again and the highlight will be removed. This exercise does require practice, and again, don't be one of those students who tend to avoid this exercise and then struggle on the day of the examination just because they ignored this and a drop in easy marks. And yeah, this exercise will be assessing your listening and your reading skills. And then your final exercise, write from dictation. Very similar to the repeat sentence exercise, except that in this you will be writing down what you hear and not just vomiting back or speaking back what you just heard. So in this, as a recording is being you can expect 3 to 4 questions, and as a recording is being played, some students have the habit of taking down notes. Some of them have a very good short-term memory, so they can just memorize everything word to word and then type it down. Whatever is the strategy that works the best for you, please go with it. And yeah, as you're listening to the recording, try to absorb those words and that information, and then just put it down in the answer box. And if you want to make any changes, you can. You do have enough time for this exercise, so that's no stress, given that you've been doing all the other exercises on time. And yeah, this exercise is again one of the final few exercises. In fact, most of the times it is the last exercise in the PTE examination. So you probably will be in a very happy mood when you're about to do this exercise, because you know that it's all but done after this one. So again, they want to see your listening and writing skills. Make sure you put in the correct spellings. You do not come up with words of your own, because that's again one very good way of losing marks, which I don't want for you. And that's about it. This should be good and easy. Alright everyone, so I really hope you found this exercise or this video very helpful, and I tried to cover as much information as I could in a short span of time, because I wanted this to be a crash course for some people who don't really require any coaching of any sort, but still have a lot of questions about the format of the examination or what kind of questions they can expect. So I try to keep this short, concise, to the point. However, if you do have any questions, do visit the website given below. That's elmastery.com, or just drop in a comment in the chat in the comment box, and I will get back to you, or probably make a video on any of the questions or queries that you may have. In the meantime, good luck with the examination. It's only as hard as you want it to be. It's only as easy as you want it to be. So I'm pretty sure you'll do a great job if your examination is upcoming. If not, get a date for the examination and start practicing.